Hello YouTube! Today Cory is coming to you live from Cory's parents' garage with a brand new webcam from Cory's wonderful uncle, which when practiced in Cory's wonderful uncle's house made everything turn green, but here seems to be doing okay. There's also a kitten mewling in the background because we exile her, so that's Belle. Say hi to Belle. Okay. Today is Give Cory Advice Day. Cory is in Cory's parents' garage. Cory is not really out to Cory's parents. Cory is avoiding using pronouns because they still confuse Cory. Cory is not sure what Cory is going to do. I came to my parents' house, which I'm going to be at for the rest of the summer, working every day, and then coming back here for the rest of the day. Probably, because they need the car that I'll be going to work with, so I can't really escape. I'm working every day of the week, so I can't escape on weekends back to Davis. This is in my extremely conservative hometown, which, I love my parents, I love my family, I'm not too fond of the hometown here. I didn't bring my binder because I don't want my mom having to wash it and questioning, and I kind of figured it would be a good time to try life without it for a little while. I'm kind of observing myself to see how I react, how I handle being she'd and legal named all the time and not having a binder on, and just seeing if it's really that big of a deal to me and if I really do want top surgery. I keep wavering from being like 70 to 85% sure, except sometimes it might dip down below that actually. It's never really lower than 50, but 50-50 is not a very good odd for choosing a permanent surgery. I really like the idea of it, but it's a lot of money and it's changing a lifestyle, and I don't know if I need it. And I don't know if I want to need it. It's kind of lame to have to need a surgery. But then there's the whole, so then is it cosmetic? Should my insurance really be covering it? Which it could, if I go through a counselor, which I do want to do, just to figure all this out. I think it'll be helpful to have someone else help me watch me for a year and try and figure out what's going on with me. Anyway, so there's all that. But my parents are very conservative, right-wing Christians who recently found out that I had a girlfriend. My mother called and was like, "So, you're in a relationship. Is it a boy or a girl?" And I was like, "Whoa, okay." And that came out. Ha 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 ha. And they had a bit of issue with it, and my dad gave me this whole lecture on, because we'd been debating homosexuality in the Bible, me of course being of the more liberal persuasion, and he warned me to be prepared to deal with the consequences, that you can't just twist the Bible to whatever interpretation you see fit. Although, really, I think every interpretation is an interpretation, but that's just me. My mother hasn't talked to me about it since asking on the phone, kind of ignoring the whole issue. And orientation has never been a big deal for me. I've always just been like, hey, I'll be attracted to whomever I am attracted to, and that will be that. I've had discussions about the gender binary and how I dislike it with my father. I talked about how I wish it didn't exist, and we talked about transsexuals and other transgendered people, although not so much. And my dad just doesn't get the idea, and of course thinks it's wrong. My sister is very supportive. I love my sister. I've talked to her and she's watching these. Hello. I also told my father, because he was trying to figure out if I was a lesbian, which of course he thought I was, especially with my hair being cut short, whatever. And I was like, no, actually, I am queer and pansexual. And he was like, what does that mean? And I said, it means I love all genders. Although really I prefer polysexual because that means I get to pick and choose, but that's mistaken for polyamory. And he was like, just stop. Come back to reality. I don't want you to use those words again. there are two genders and you need to like get your head around this. And I was just like, I was just told not to use the word pansexual to describe myself by my father. When I came home with boxers for the first time, I forgot to separate them out from my laundry, and I came home for a weekend, or possibly for winter break or something, and my mom came up to me and was like, hey, is there a guy forcing you to do his laundry for him? Is there an abusive relationship going on in your apartment? And I was just like, no, they're mine. She's like, oh, like pajama shorts. And I was like, no, like boxer shorts. And she was just like, as long as you don't want to be a man. And then my sister wanted to borrow them, but I was like, I don't use them as pajama shorts. And she was like, never mind. Ha ha ha. My mother said, told me about her interactions with queer people and how they're dangerous and watch out for those lesbians, they will hit on you. And I was just like, what? Okay. And I think I talked to her a little bit about the idea of transgender, and she's like, what does this trans mean? And I was like, well, it's transgressing gender. And she's like, aha, transgression, sin. And I was like, oh. So that's my family. And I'm in their house for the next 2.5 months, every day, and I can't get away. And hopefully it won't be too bad. But today, I got picked up from my grandfather's and uncle's where I stayed the weekend, and where my uncle kept making jokes about me being a lesbian, though I repeatedly explained, no, not really, I'm bi, and my grandfather got it, and I don't know. That's really frustrating. And in the car ride home, which is an hour and 40 minutes, my dad and I had like 2 heated discussions and frustrated arguments about morality. I was just like, wow, I can't argue with you. Especially because he kept going back to like God and said I was denying and hating God, and I was like, whoa, please don't characterize my relationship with the divine for me. And I have a transaction button on my backpack that I like debated about taking off and never did, and so it's still there. I don't think they've seen it yet, and they would probably still attribute it to activism. But my dad started setting up the internet for my laptop and trying to fix it because we have a new printer, and he was hooking it up, and I was like on edge the whole time because I recently changed all the names in my laptop to say Cory instead of legal name. We were almost done, and I was like, whew, he hasn't seen anything. And then he was like, okay, let's check if it's printing. And it was like, printing from Cory laptop. And he was like, Cory? And I was like, it's my nickname that I like. And he was just like, and kind of didn't say anything else. But I am so bad at keeping secrets about myself, and I drop hints everywhere without even meaning to, just by being me. I feel like I'm outing myself by being myself, and this worries me a little because I'm going to be stuck here, and I don't think they'll be very supportive, and I really want to talk to a counselor first and be away from them in Davis, an hour and 40 minutes away, when I come out to them, however that goes. But I'm also kind of fighting the urge to just straight up tell them, because all the hints are going to drive them insane, it's going to drive me insane, and I don't know. I think it's kind of a bad idea, but I also think that I'm just going to end up becoming outed this summer, just by being, and that worries me. I don't know exactly what to do. Alright, so thank you, you two. Please leave comments. Advice would be very, very welcome. Thanks. I hope you're all doing well, and I will try to keep in touch. Okay, bye-bye.